A cóhbhuntóirí, a corda, agus orníana. Bhualam fáilte choróibh go dtí an seisiún ar máilta seo. Bhualam fáilte speisialta a chur ribh na héana atá in our measc, agus gabhaimid buchas libh na héana as a bheith in our measc inniuh. Good afternoon, colleagues. I would like to welcome you all to this formal session of convention. In particular, I would like to welcome our guests representing many bodies, both national and international. I would like to introduce you to the top table. To my left and your right, our Honorary Treasurer, Ray St. John. Beside Ray, Senator Mary-Louise O'Donnell, our guest speaker. To my immediate left, Phlip Irwin, ASTI President. Myself, Maureen Kirba, ASTI President-elect. To my right and your left, our General Secretary, Pat King. Beside Pat, Deputy General Secretary, Diarmuid Dupuer. And to Diarmuid's right, our immediate past President, Sally Maguire. So I'd like to welcome everybody here. I would once more like to welcome our fraternal delegates and guests from national and international bodies, including teacher organisations, school management, parent organisations, and many others. And of course, I would like to reiterate my welcome to all ASTI colleagues, whether with us here or watching online. I would now like to call on our President, Phlip Irwin, to address us.
Fáilte Róid go léir go Killarney, delegates and guests. I am proud to stand before you as President at this, our 93rd convention, and the 106th year since the foundation of the ASTI. I particularly wish to welcome the members of my own family this evening, my brothers Billy, Gabriel, John and Justin, and my personal guests, Bill and Mick. And finally, members of my own branches, Dublin South 1 and Dublin South Central. My father, Joe, was a secondary teacher and chairman of the Tipperary branch when the ASTI convention was held in the town hall on the main street in Cashel in 1966. It was the first convention I remember on black and white TV. He, like my guest speaker, Senator Mary-Louise O'Donnell, was particularly interested in English and drama. He was in no doubt about the important role teachers play in this society and the need to insist that due regard was paid to the views of teachers on the future of the education system. He was an active ASTI member well into the 1980s. I believe it is important to note and value the contribution of past generations and more recently retired ASTI members, and also to commend the work of the RSTA. I welcome its president, Carmel Heenahan, and salute the achievement of Louis O'Flaherty in his history of the first 50 years of the RSTA. My wife, Sheila, is here and is my best and most critical friend. My son, John Joe, is doing the Leaving Cert this year, but he's taken the time off to be here this evening. My son Liam is also here, and he is enjoying first year, even with the uncertainty around the English specifications. Like all parents, we support them and love them most of the time. We, the teachers, are the custodians of the education of the future generations of Irish citizens. And we take a long view on what is important, what needs to be retained, and what needs to be changed in our education system. In this, we've been fortunate to be supported by the strong traditional commitment to education of Irish parents and the resilience of Irish students in what has generally been a poorly resourced and underfunded system. I commence now, as I most assuredly will end, with our junior cycle campaign. I do so in order to pay tribute to you in this room, who have led our campaign at school, branch and regional levels. You have been resolute in the implementation of our directives, our lunchtime protest, our petition, and you have been stalwarts on the picket lines on our strike days, days on which I believe we gained the support of the public to our cause. You have been ambitious in seeking to attain our goal, that of the retention of state certification and external assessment. And you have been unified, disciplined and determined in your approach. I salute you all. We have at all times been ably supported by our General Secretary, Pat King, and all who work at Thomas MacDonagh House on Wine Tavern Street, Dublin. The mention of MacDonagh reminds us of the contribution of teachers to national life in what is an important year ahead. Mention of unity brings us to the fact that we have run a joint campaign with the Teachers' Union of Ireland, and thereby calling on the strength of 27,000 second-level teachers. This has been a key feature of the campaign. I express fraternal greetings to our allies and friends in the TUI, and especially their president and a second-level teacher, Jerry Quinn. And to the organisation of their General Secretary, John McGowan, and all who work in the TUI head office in Orwell Road, Rathgar in Dublin. In all of this, your work in schools and in branches has empowered us to progress our cause by a combination of action and negotiation at national level. We always knew that we would have to get beyond the abolitionist minister, Rory Quinn TD, and we achieved that. The new Minister, John O'Sullivan, had the opportunity to delay implementation of the framework for junior cycle pending agreement with us. Unfortunately, even though she commented on radio last July that she had no hang-ups on who corrected the new exam, she did not take that opportunity. It was precisely implementation without agreement which triggered our strike ballot in the autumn of 2014. In the November 2014 talks with the department, your negotiators achieved a significant breakthrough for us with the Minister's offer to restore state certification. We have at all times acknowledged and given credit to the Minister for that decision. However, the other half of our agenda on assessment demands that state certification be given meaning by the retention of external assessment organised nationally by the State Exams Commission. This guarantees the maintenance of consistent standards across the country and equity between schools in the interests of all our students. Objectivity and the integrity and credibility it gives to state certification does not come in half measures. Note that objectivity under the SEC is not to be confused with honesty. It rather relates to Republican values that all students should have the same opportunities and be measured on the same basis, whatever school they go to. The junior certificate is not a high-stakes exam, but it is an important midpoint in second-level education for students, parents and teachers, where important life skills in time management, self-discipline, information processing and establishing personal goals are gained. It also helps in subject choice for Leaving Cert. We were always suspicious that the origins of moves to abolish the state-certified junior cert exam were austerity cuts driven. And we have to thank the Irish Times Freedom of Information requests published in December and January for confirming that abolition of the junior cert was part of government budgetary strategy in 2008 and 2010, with savings estimated between €15 million and €24 million projected. This was not the proper basis for educational reform, and the fact of this cuts policy has been denied by Minister Jan O'Sullivan and her predecessor. It is to the cuts and austerity measures in the education system over the past 7 years I wish to turn now, as I believe that they have not only damaged and undermined the education system, but also that if they are not reversed, the prospects for any reform programme is bleak. Our research released last week, conducted by Millward Brown, among other things, highlighted the significant increases in class sizes over the past 7 years. And also the views of teachers that this lessens their ability to give students individual attention and reduces the range of methodologies which they use or deploy in the classroom. Principals see current teacher workloads as a barrier to reform, while other impositions in recent years have eaten into teacher time in schools, such as the Croke Park hours and compulsory supervision and substitution. There is now less time for teachers to work collaboratively. These issues are the subject of motions at this convention, as is the cut in the allocation of guidance counsellors, where in previous research we found that 7 in 10 schools have reduced one-to-one guidance counselling for students. We now find that their work is more confined to the Leaving Cert and away from Junior Cert students. It is also past time for the lifting of the moratorium on post appointments to assistant principal and special duties teacher posts, which our research has found that principals view as a barrier to implementing Junior Cert reform. All this underlines what we, the teachers, know. The state exam system, externally assessed and administered by the State Exams Commission, is an important sticking plaster holding this underfunded and poorly resourced education system together and ensuring that national standards and equity for all students are maintained. We, the teachers, are not simply passive recipients to all these cuts. We are highlighting and fighting them. I also now wish to draw attention to a practical self-help initiative by our Safety, Health and Welfare Committee. In the face of the stresses and strains on those working in schools, the committee led the way in beginning an integrated workplace health initiative to promote schools as healthy workplaces. And they have been joined by the TUI and the management bodies, JMB, ACCS and ETBI. And this is especially needed due to the worsening sick leave arrangements. However, the crisis for the teaching profession in this country is deeper than I have already outlined. In 2011, government cut new teachers' pay by 10%, and in 2012, the government abolished qualifications allowances for new teachers. An anti-education move, if there ever was one. Due to the work of the teacher unions, there has been some clawback on these unfair cuts. But this convention will be calling for the restoration of the common basic scale for all teachers. And we will be further calling for the reinstatement of qualifications allowances for new entrants to teaching. And in view of the heralded economic recovery, this afternoon we are calling for the end of the Pension Levy for all teachers, which was introduced under emergency FEMPI legislation. Casualisation and the hours culture in employment of new teachers has accelerated in the years of economic crisis, and it has undermined the profession. Those of us who, like myself, began teaching in the 1980s and managed to stay in the country know this situation only too well. It is now worse than 1 in 3 teachers on temporary or part-time contracts. This is why, as President and on behalf of the Association, I express our solidarity and support for the Dunnes Stores workers and the Mandate Union in their struggle for decent jobs and decent wages. Earlier this year, we also supported in a practical way the struggle of the Unite construction workers at the Kishogue Community School site in Lucan. Publicly funded schools should not be built on the exploitation of working people. We have achieved some steps in combating casualisation under the Haddington Road Agreement. The length of time to get some permanency has reduced from 4 to 3 years for what is termed a contract of indefinite duration. As we're told, it's the same as permanency, but as we know, it all depends on how many hours you have. The Ward report of the expert group under the Haddington Road Agreement on this matter reported 6 months ago. And in spite of ministerial commitments, a department circular to implement the report only issued in recent weeks. In all of this, the General Secretaries of ASTI, TUI and INTO, Pat King, John McGowan and Sheila Noonan, deserve credit for their persistence on this matter. The General Secretary has reported on the details this afternoon. One important improvement will be the award of CIDs after 2 years. Of course, however, this will not affect privately paid teachers. What is really needed to deal with casualisation is a shift away from the hours culture mentality in management circles. Finally, under the Haddington Road Agreement, there was a commitment to set up a supplementary panel for temporary teachers, and we will insist that this is honoured. To return to the junior cycle, the Minister says she's going to press ahead without us and implement the Travers document, in spite of the fact that we have sought further talks and in spite of the fact that Dr. Travers has written. Such ambitious reform requires the wholehearted engagement of teachers, otherwise its chances of success are limited. He has also written that further talks are needed on resources and other issues, and therefore it is quite clear this is an incomplete document. Dr. Travers' proposals on assessment to limit the state certificate to the terminal exam, with everything else being school reported, is not acceptable or good enough. In ways, it is a step backwards. We never sought such a limitation. And contrary to the Minister's unfair characterisation of us as not having moved, we have always sought the broadening of assessments, the inclusion of projects, portfolios and orals in state certification, and less reliance on the end exam. Dr. Travers, at the prompting of your negotiators, did allow that project work in technology subjects, art, and we got him to agree to include home economics here, would continue to be externally assessed and state certified. In doing this, he has created a fundamental inconsistency in the current proposals. Surely the state cert should not be limited to the terminal exam in modern languages and Gaeilge. Orals must be externally assessed and included in the state cert. Projects and portfolios across all subjects must be included. In short, we want the junior cert exam modernised and made fit for purpose into the future. We do not trust the abolitionist mentality of some within the Department of Education and Skills. The centrality of student-teacher relationships and the maintenance of the advocacy role of teachers on behalf of their students has to be understood and supported by the Minister if progress is to be made. I stopped to mention one subject in the current junior certificate which I've had experience of, and that's the Civic, Social and Political Education course, which has 40% for the terminal exam and 60% for a pre-submitted action project report. And this is what one commentator said of it at the launch of the Irish Human Rights Commission study on human rights education in July 2011. The CSPE assessment arrangements provide for the completion of an innovative action project, which is designed to promote the skills of finding information, investigating a human rights or social responsibility issue, developing an action plan, implementing it, reflecting on and evaluating the experience and completing a report. These are vital skills in promoting participatory democracy and the ability to challenge authority and promote change. It was Minister Ruairi Quinn who made those comments before he embarked on the abolition of the junior certificate. Whatever did happen to him? We need the retention of civic, social and political education and external assessment across all subjects into the future for all our students. The Minister states that she is proceeding with implementation without us. If this persists, I have this to say. The dispute will go on into next year. In the absence of agreement, the Minister is targeting English teachers. We will not have CPD or training before an agreement, and we will support and protect our English teachers. We have, at different times, employed different tactics. We have moved and shaped the campaign as necessary. We have been responsible and measured. We have been looking to defend the education system. And therefore, further to our action in support of the English teachers, and in view of the time of year for exam students, and along with our allies and friends in the TUI, we are organising a national lunchtime protest of 22,000 second-level teachers for the end of this month. Finally, a year ago, we presented the previous Minister with a petition of 10,000 teachers, asking that he affirm the role of teachers as advocates on behalf of their students and supporting the retention of external assessment. We have no written acknowledgement of this from the Minister. If Minister Jan O'Sullivan persists, it will be time for the 10,000 signatories and their friends and allies in the TUI to visit the Minister in person. Gurv Míle Maith Agat.